Teching faceplant tumble! Oh yeah! You guys ready for another theme week? Oh, I bet you are. Law Week is still postponed for like the second year in a row, but someday we'll get to Law Week. But no, this week for the next 7 days, it's gonna be nothing but neck. That's right. I want you to all stretch out your necks to the sky and let out a mighty yeah! Oh yeah, look at that, yeah. Okay, we got to see Denjiro's neck in the last chapter. Sure, that's a good place to start, but think of all the other neck-based content I could make. Frankie's neck, Katakuri's, Rolling Logan. If you guys want to know more about necks in One Piece, and I'm not even kidding here, I'll put it in the description below. Library of Ohara, Artur, made a YouTube video where he ranks the necks in One Piece. Every single neck. He makes a neck tier list. I am not joking about this. It's a great video. Go check it out below if you want to find out who is the definitive neck god emperor in the world of One Piece, okay? So, yeah, it's weird. Isn't it weird? Like, I didn't think everyone would gonna be freaking out over necks. This is already a weird job I do. I don't know if you noticed, my sidekick is a brick. Although we do have sexy Rule 6334 cosplay Jason hanging out as a guest host today. So, how are you doing, sexy Rule 6334 Jason? That's great. Okay, cool. Still doesn't talk, but yeah, this is a weird job already, but I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd be like, wow, there's gonna be a couple of days there where everybody is obsessed with necks. Yeah, neck! And for this video, I had a poll on my Twitter earlier today, because I was kind of split between doing a ulti video or a Denjiro video, and even with the Twitter poll, it was 50-50. It was even neck and neck for a while there, and I think ulti did, you know, squeak ahead right before I filmed this, but I could definitely make an ulti video because I think we know enough about her personality and her relationship with Page One and, you know, her encountering Luffy. I was going to make a video about her personality up against Luffy's personality, so I can definitely do it. I think I'm going to wait a little bit while longer for ultis, maybe just to get some extra stuff for maybe some future chapters, and then maybe I'll do something on ulti. But Denjiro, something very important about Denjiro. Out of all of the 9 red scabbards, and this includes Izo, because Izo is essentially arriving. He's there. He's gonna be arriving. Out of all of the 9 red scabbards, the one that I think you should watch the most closely for like a really epic moment or a moment of like redemption is probably Denjiro. You got some other contenders in there too. Yeah, Ashura Doji is very possible as well, but the way I'm looking at it is like this, okay? All of the scabbards that traveled through time, yes, they have vendettas, they have the revenge, they want to avenge Odin and stuff, because that's really fresh in their mind. Remember, like that whole thing with Odin being, you know, executed by Kaido, and then the temple, not the temple, the Odin castle burning down and all that stuff, from the perspective of Kinemon and Momo and Kiku and Raizo and Kanjuro as well, although Kanjuro is no longer a scabbard, that only happened like 5-6 months ago from their perspective. So they're still, it's very much fresh in their mind, and they're ready to do this, okay? They want to bring down Kaido and avenge their daimyo, Odin, okay? Great, that's awesome, but you gotta look at the ones that didn't travel through time, the ones that were stuck in the land of Wano, kind of licking their wounds, building up power, waiting for the day when they would be needed, okay? And out of all of them, you got Kawamatsu, who was locked up in a cell in Udon for about 13 years. Now, he is, you know, he's really strong as well, but he hasn't really had a chance to really train very much, considering locked in a cell for 13 years, being fed poisonous fish every single day. But then you got Ashura Doji, who went back to his former life being a mountain bandit, essentially there. But then you got Denjiro. I'm sure they all had a vendetta against Kaido, obviously. All of them wanted to take out Kaido and Orochi, but I'm thinking maybe some of them got to the point of, like, complacence, like Ashura Doji, especially with him, because half of, you know, a big chunk of his mountain bandits, you know, 10 years ago, they left to go to Onigashima to defeat Kaido, because they're like, it's already been 10 years, Ashura. You know, we're getting older. You know, eventually we're going to be so old by the time that the scabbards, even if the scabbards do show back up in another 10 years, we're going to be too old and sick to fight. So they went off, and then they all died. So Ashura Doji, at that point, you can imagine him being like, you know what, I think I'm just going to stay doing this. I'm going to stay a mountain bandit for the rest of my days, and just, you know, in that complacence there. I'm not even going to really try to oppose Kaido and Orochi in any major way, because it's just, we tried and we failed. Kawamatsu was in prison, not really much for him to do. Denjiro, though. Denjiro, Kyoshiro, whatever you want to call him. He spent those 20 years, first off, he spent a good chunk of those 20 years, like the first few months, maybe even the first few years, in that temple in the Hakumai region, just screaming to the heavens with a mighty neck vein, contorting his face to pure rage. He did that for a little while. Then he wandered out into the capital, and then, you know, one thing leads to another, he becomes a Yakuza boss. Okay, he had a position of power. He was the guy that was like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play along with their little game. I'm not going to try to oppose them. In fact, I'm going to join them. I'm going to join their organization. I'm going to be, no, I'm not just going to join them. I'm going to be Orochi's right-hand man. I'm going to build myself into a guy that Orochi would trust with his freaking life. I want to get to the point where Orochi would trust me drawing his damn bathwater for him. Get away! That servant might be an alliance with the Kozuki clan! Kyoshiro, come in here and draw my bathwater! Yes, yes, sir, Lord Orochi. Yes, Kyoshiro, you're the only person I could trust. Now where's my special rubber ducky? Here it is, sir. Yes, those Kozukis could be anywhere, Kyoshiro. Keep an eye out. Oh, I will, sir, I will. Denjiro's like, I'm gonna play that game, and I'm gonna play it well. I'm gonna play it well, and I'm not gonna break character for 20 years. And then after that's all said and done, by the time the others do arrive, because Denjiro had faith in Toki's prophecy, they're gonna show up. I know they're going to. Kinemon's gonna be back. Now, a side effect of this is I think for those 20 years, Denjiro was also really building up Kinemon's master scheming abilities and just be like, oh yeah, everything will be okay when Kinemon shows back up. It's been 20 years. When he pops back up, he's the most brilliant tactician I've ever known in my life. Throughout those 20 years, it's, you know how like memory works? If it's like you keep telling yourself a story and you kind of convince yourself something happened when it really didn't happen, or you're just exaggerating things beyond proportion. You know, it's like, imagine like, let's say you're like 10 years old and you and your friends are like, playing baseball or something outside, right? And let's say one time your friend hits the ball with the bat and it gets a home run. It goes pretty far. But then over the years, maybe you exaggerate the story a little bit and be like, oh no, it wasn't just like a home run like normal. He was like Babe Ruth out there, you know? He was like, he called the shot, it boom, and the bat exploded and the ball flew all the way into the woods. We couldn't find it, and everyone was like, ah, and then people stopped, people walking in the streets stopped and like, whoa, that guy's incredible! You know, like you exaggerate the story as the years go on. I think Denjiro is kind of doing that with Kinemon's abilities to tactically plan a battle, right? Well, anyway, the point is, though, while this is all going on, Denjiro is a Yakuza boss. He's boss Kyoshiro. He's not just sitting around and, allying with Orochi. He's training constantly, and he's also the witching hour boy. He's also the person that's helping out the other leftover towns with extra money and stuff like that. So the dude is training constantly, and we see that from, the example is right here in the neck. You look at this man's neck. This is 20 years of rage compressed in neck form. You know what I mean? So this is his moment. This is his shining moment. And you know what else is really crazy? So far, he's expressed his Kyoshiro facade, and he's also expressed how it is to be Denjiro. He's like, Kinemon, we're here! Right? He could switch back and forth between those two very, very well. Where, he met Sasaki in the last chapter, and he switched over to that Kyoshiro, like, oh yeah, I'm the boss Kyoshiro. I'm the Yakuza boss from the Flower Capital. How you doing, Sasaki? And then, chains him up and bolts him to a wall, and just like, alright, well, you stay there, and everybody else just sit tight for now. We're gonna go and continue this invasion, alright? So he's really good at acting. He's really good at that charisma stat, very, very high for Denjiro. But I can't wait until Denjiro actually encounters Orochi or Kaido, probably more Orochi than anybody, because I want to see that 20 years of rage. It's gonna happen. That 20 years of rage and all that planning and all the times he probably sat next to Orochi in the planning room, in the boardroom, figuring out new ways to screw over the country of Wano, it's all gonna come boiling out at one point, where Denjiro sees Orochi and his face is just gonna go like, his like the more veins than you could possibly count. It's just gonna, Orochi. I've been planning this attack for the last 20 years. It's like a slash with so much compressed anger that it literally, there's a Mount Fuji in Wano. It could slice the mountain in half, just shing, I can't wait for that moment. And even if we don't get that moment exactly, where it's just like a confrontation, I do want to see a confrontation between Denjiro and Orochi, but a lot of people also have a ticket for that as well. Kinemon has the ticket to, go up against Orochi. Zoro has the ticket to go up against Orochi, too. A lot of people do. But I want to see that resolved. I want to see that, look on Orochi's face when Denjiro reveals who he really was. I want to see the look on Denjiro's face when he's, being serious against Orochi for everything that he did to Odin, made him dance naked in the streets and all that stuff, and then resulting eventually in his death. Yes, Kaido was the one to actually execute Odin. He was the one to finish him off. But Kaido, at that point, compared to Orochi's dickery, Kaido was actually, pretty understanding. He could tell, well, Odin, you gotta die, but I kind of feel weird, but I gotta do it. By the way, that old lady during our fight, yeah, I got her taken care of. She's dead now, too. So at that point, you could definitely feel more animosity between the scabbards and Orochi than the scabbards for Kaido. The animosity for Kaido is still there. It's just a lot higher for Orochi, I would imagine, because Kaido came from outside of the country. Orochi kind of emerged to power and manipulated everybody from the inside out, and then, became the Shogun, right? So, yeah, a lot more stuff involved there with Orochi. So, 20 years of training, 20 years of manipulation, of just planning, and eventually Hiyori or Komurasaki joins up, so there's a plan involving them at some point, the whole witching hour thing, and, putting the blood packs in her kimono so that you could fake her death. I still think Hiyori is going to play a role here. I don't think Hiyori is just going to hang out on the island in Wano on the mainland for, the entire battle and just show up at the very end, hey guys, good job, you won, hey Momo, it's been a while, I don't think that. I think Hiyori is definitely going to get involved at some point during this fight. It might even be a situation, maybe Nekomamushi and Izo and Marco, maybe they run into her and pick her up. I don't really know how that would work or what she could do. We might find out she has the powers of the Toki Toki no Mi, left behind by, Lady Toki. Could be that. It could be very possible there, right? So that's just his master plan for the last 20 years. If we're talking straight up strength, based on the scabbards that remained in the country for the 20 years, so Kawamatsu, Ashura Doji, and Denjiro, I would probably say the rankings go Denjiro as the strongest, followed by Ashura Doji. Because, yeah, Ashura Doji didn't directly oppose Orochi or Kaido, and you could even tell that, because he was the leader of a mountain bandits, he was probably even kind of careful to not overly piss them off, because then that would result in them just crushing them. But he was still active as a mountain bandit leader. He was still out there doing stuff, so he's also probably really strong. And then Kawamatsu, I would say, he's not weak, but out of the three that stayed in the country, he would be the weakest just because he was locked up for 13 years, not being able to really do anything. And I know we always talk about Kinemon and his masterful plans and everything. He comes up with these ridiculous plans, and, well, not really ridiculous. He comes up with these plans that on the surface are really stupid, and they're revealed to be really stupid, but that's just sheer happen chance and luck and the fate of the universe or something. It just ends up working out. So it's kind of more luck when it comes to Kinemon. But when it comes down to the actual planning of this battle, the climax of this battle and the actual end of Orochi, that's going to be on Denjiro. That's going to be on Denjiro and his plan that he's going to use with his samurai. That's the thing that's actually going to end it out, I believe. It's going to be Denjiro, not Kinemon. Because there's only so many ways that... I know Oda loves a good running gag, but there's only so many ways that Oda can do that with Kinemon. Kinemon has a plan. He's well, this might not work. Hey, it worked out. Perfectly fine. Even better than we expected, honestly. There's only so many times you can do that. Either Kinemon has to himself come up with a really, really good plan, or it's Denjiro's plan that actually ended up being the thing that saved everybody. I definitely see that being Denjiro, because this fight, man, I'm telling you, at Onigashima, and it's already been kind of shown in the last few chapters when Luffy and Zoro and Kid just kind of barged into the Golden Kagura Festival. This is not going to be the kind of thing where you can just charge in, beat everybody up, and then win. That's not how the beginning of this fight is going to go. That's not how the middle of it or the end of it. That's not a good idea. There needs to be some structure, some tactics involved here. And so far, they're doing that, and they're doing it very well. They're doing it where they're splitting their forces, so half of them are going to go to the back, and then the other half are going to, flank in the center of the skull and hiding in the cover of the crowd. That's a good plan, and so far, it's going really well. I mean, yeah, Big Mom is chasing after Usopp and Chopper in a tank right now, so that's kind of a thing. Yeah, Sasaki is tied up, so yeah, he's taken out of the commission right now, but he could always break out. That's kind of a situation with Denjiro. I'm thinking kind of like a half measure right there. And no half measures, Walter. I'm like, it would be kind of brutal because it's One Piece after all, and we can't just get rid of Sasaki because he was just introduced. Here are the members of the Tobiropo. Oh yeah, Sasaki gets chained up, and then I mean, I'm trying to think of a reason why Denjiro didn't just take out his sword and just slice off, Sasaki's head right there. That would have probably have been, and then just like chuck the bodies in the freaking water. That would have probably have been the best possible option to do it at that point. If this was a battle in a real life, real world scenario, like he was chained up with Sea Prism. He didn't transform into a dinosaur. I'm assuming Sasaki's a Triceratops or something with the horns. I'm assuming he could transform into a dinosaur. He didn't do that, so he's chained up with Sea Prism, I'm guessing. So if he's limited in that capacity, Denjiro with his mighty neck strength, and he knows hockey, I can't see any reason why he just didn't finish him off, other than the reason for the plot. The reason that you can't just get rid of a member of the Tobiropo that quickly without being shown what they could really do. And that would be kind of grisly in One Piece, to just have, like, no real battle, no real build-up. It's just Denjiro ties a guy up and then just, finishes it off, right? So there's reasons why Oda didn't go ahead with it, but I think in a real-world scenario, oh yeah, Sasaki would be dead, at that point right there. Dispose of the bodies, hide them from the other enemy, and just continue onward with the plan. That would have probably been the best way to do that. When they arrived at Black Maria's brothel, there was nobody there, so there was no real issue, other than Big Mom, of course. But Big Mom is not a character you can easily just tie up and then take care of, You have to kind of lure her away with a tank in the shape of a Brachiosaur. That's... Oh, I just realized, could they use the Brachio tank on Queen? That... Brachiosaur, Brachio tank. I never considered that before, and it probably wouldn't damage him all that much, but just in terms of aesthetic alone, that kind of has to happen, right? Yeah, of course. Yeah, right, obviously, right? And they use the FRU-4, which is a rhino, which kind of looks like a Triceratops, to the Triceratops, if Sasaki's the Triceratops. So there you go, right? So, yeah, Frankie gets his neck action, and we're all said and done. We're all good, right? But yeah, let me know what you think about Denjiro below. I want to know how you feel about him being, like, sort of kind of pressed to the front of the 9 red scabbards. Like, yeah, all of the 9 red scabbards are going to get to see some action in this arc. We're going to see some stuff from Kinemon. We're going to see some stuff from Kiku and probably Izo maybe teaming up. Stuff from Kawamatsu and Ashura. But I'm telling you what, if Oda was going to, like, out of all the scabbards, the one that's going to get the longest fight, the one that's going to get the most screen time, the one that's going to have his arc kind of finish off, if that was Denjiro, I would be perfectly fine with that, considering that he kind of struggled the most out of all of them. I mean, all the scabbards struggled, they did, but it's just literally, it's etched into his face, like, quite literally, the struggle that he felt, where he spent, like, months or years in the woods just screaming to the heavens so much his face contorted, alright? So I feel for Denjiro, I really do, and I think, honestly, that, yeah, we're going to get some really epic moments from him coming up, so don't sleep on Denjiro, pay attention to him and his mighty neck, and see you back here tomorrow, where we'll be discussing Katakuri's neck. Yeah, no, okay, we're not going to do neck week, I'm sorry, no neck week, man. There's some people out there like, damn it, Tekking, I wanted neck week. Do Law Week at least. Yeah, maybe we'll do Law Week. I don't know, I guess we can talk about Law's neck, I guess, I don't know. It feels weird. It feels like, okay, I'm not a huge fan of Teen Titans Go. I like the original Teen Titans, but I think I was doing a stream one time and someone mentioned there was that episode of Teen Titans Go with the legs. Yeah, and it's like, you need to go watch that episode, Tekking, because that one's weird. And I went and watched it, and I'm like, yeah, there was someone with a leg fetish definitely wrote that episode. You know which one I'm talking about? I think if you've seen it, you've seen it. I kind of feel like that right now, where it's just like, man, are you... Okay, Tekking, we know hashtag not a furry, and we know boobs and everything like that, and Rule 63 Jason, apparently, but are we adding necks to this, too? I'm like, I guess we are. I don't know. All right, one more neck shot, and then we'll sign out. Sign out, everybody. Tekking later. Yeah. Bye.